And the tone was weird, man. The tone was weird. It was not clear. It was like popcorn meets cutesy meets Bill Murray's Crispin Glover's in it, and
That's
it's
that
wacky thing. It was
it.
a wacky movie.
It's a miracle of a movie that it works, frankly,
It's
because
a
given
mirror, and Tim
everything you
Curry's in
talked
it. I mean,
about.
it's nuts. The
Yeah,
movie's
it shouldn't
nuts.
work. It shouldn't work, but it
Yeah,
does. And then
yeah,
it
it
collapsed in
does.
the second one because that kind of thing only happens once
Sure, sure,
right.
sure, exactly.
Prepare your ears, humans. Happy, sad, confused begins now.
Hey guys, it's Josh. Welcome to another edition of Happy, Sad, Confused. The main event today, one of our great actors, Mr. Sam Rockwell, on my screen and hopefully in your ears and on your screen for this very special conversation for Happy, Sad, Confused. It's been a packed week, guys. Welcome to the show. Our third episode of the week, if you're keeping track. I know I am. Monday, we had David Goyer talking all things Batman Begins for the 20th anniversary. If you haven't checked that out and you're a Batman fan, do yourself a favor. And then we just dropped the other day our 28 years later conversation with Danny Boyle and Jodie Comer and Aaron Taylor Johnson, recorded in 92nd Street Y. And because we just had to jam one more in, we have Sam Rockwell in the house. I'm so excited to share this one today. It's been a minute since Sam has been on the podcast solo, so this was a nice opportunity to catch up with one of my faves. Before we get to that, as always, a little reminder, patreon.com/happy sad confused is your friend for all things happy sad confused. Early access, discount codes to our live events, merch, opportunities to ask questions of our guests. Check it out. It helps us make more stuff over here if you support us over there. Again, that's patreon.com/happy sad confused. Okay, Sam Rockwell. I don't need to give you much of an intro to Sam Rockwell. If you love film, TV, theater the last 25, 30 years, then you probably love Sam Rockwell, especially if you have good taste. He is an Oscar winner. He is about to probably get another Emmy nomination, deservedly so, for his really cool supporting turn, surprising supporting turn. If you've seen The White Lotus, you know what I'm talking about. He just about steals the show when he comes in midway through. I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't seen the show. You probably should check it out before this conversation, but he does arrive on the scene as a contemporary friend of Walt Goggins' character, and then delivers not only a bunch of great conversations and scenes throughout the series, but one monologue in particular that is an immediate all-timer. So this conversation is a lot about White Lotus, but we also hit upon a lot of great actors that Sam admires, that I admire. Sam is a true actor's actor, loves the profession, loves great films, filmmakers, and above all else, actors. So to hear him gush about Phil Hoffman and Gene Hackman and just Gary Oldman and the folks that inspire him is really cool to hear. Not to mention fun stories about Charlie's Angels and Iron Man 2 and much, much more. Fun chat with Sam. Before we launch into it, a little context. This was a Zoom conversation, and Sam's partner, if you don't know, is Leslie Bibb. Very talented, amazing actor. Also killed it in White Lotus this season. So when I popped on the Zoom, Leslie was there as well. I know Sam and Leslie for many years now. They're two of my favorite human beings on the planet, fellow New Yorkers, fellow dog lovers. So I've seen them out and about many times over the years, and happy to see them both. So that's why you're going to see and hear Leslie in the beginning of this as well. There's no real formal introduction. We just kind of launch right into this random fun conversation. So that's all the preamble you need. What you're about to listen to and hear is a conversation with one of our greats. Please enjoy my conversation with the legend, Mr. Sam Rockwell.
Oh, hello. Look who it
I was
is.
hoping I got a package deal today. It's the
What's going
Today
on,
Show
bro?
host. It's my competition out there. Hi, Leslie.
Hi.
Hi, Sam.
Man,
Hi, babes.
How's it going, guys?
what's happening, man?
Sam, are you really eating while you're doing that? You're shoving food in your mouth. It's so unprofessional.
No, this is what I
life.
expect. I have a very low bar for him. Don't worry.
Thanks, man.
But last time you were together, you were in a bed together.
Hold on. We
I
were?
think there have been multiple times,
Leaving the
practically.
interview.
Hold on. I'm leaving.
How was your
Yeah,
new
enough
gig
of you,
as a
Josh.
Today Show host?
Wait, I
Leslie?
can't hear you because Sam's screaming at me.
How's your new gig as a Today Show host?
I just did 2 days. It was really fun. So I look like a little kid, like trying to peer. This is what Gus looks like. This is Gus at Thanksgiving, trying to eat. What are you eating? I
Wait,
love turkey. Gussie,
good.
come say hi. Come here.
Yeah. Gus, I want the whole
Sam's
fam.
mad at Gus right now because he almost. Gussie, look, come here. Come say hi. Come on, let him come up. Up, up, up. Pause up. Come on. Come on. Oh, he weighs so much.
Oh, there's the true superstar.
He's
There
the
he is.
worst allergies. Get
Who's
out
got
of
the
here.
allergies? Who's allergic to who?
Gus is allergic to New York City.
That's no good. Fancy. Fancy.
Okay, I'm gonna let you guys be.
It's good to see you.
Josh, can I say something? How good was Sam Rockwell in The White Lotus?
How good was Leslie Bibb on
No,
the White
no,
Lotus?
stop. I'm talking about
We're,
you.
we're going to talk about both of you for the next 45 minutes and gush. You guys are both
I know.
amazing. You killed it.
But that monologue.
Unbelievable. Here, can I tell you a good story while you're on camera too? And I was going to say this for the podcast, but we're officially in the podcast. We're doing this. When Walton was on like a year and a half ago on the podcast, we were talking Fallout and he was in the middle of shooting White Lotus and he spilled by accident, Sam, that you were in the show. And I've never seen a man so scared that he was going to be fired in the middle of his shoot. He caught
Terrifying.
himself.
You kept it a secret?
We cut it out. We cut it out of the show. He was like dying.
It's so.
Oh my God.
nerve-wracking.
You're good. You're a good man.
Can I tell you, we threw a Christmas party, which by the way, you need
You're
to
good,
be on
man.
our guest list to come to the Christmas party. We throw this like fun Christmas party. I saw you vying for a coconut cake with Tom Cruise too, by the
More
way.
than vying, begging.
Shameless.
Shameless.
I love coconut. I love coconut.
Do you guys get the cake? Do you guys get the cake?
No, I don't get a coconut
Okay.
cake from Tom. TC, I don't know TC.
Okay.
I'm
Personal
sure-
friend of mine.
You don't get
Just
a
saying.
coconut.
Personal friend.
But we were at the Christmas party and everyone's like, because we, just come back and it only been like a few months. And everyone's like, did Sam come visit you? And I had to lie. We were like, oh yeah. No, he came to Bangkok. Yeah.
We'll drive by.
It's the
Little drive-by. Lying
to people is one of the things I hate most, which I know seems silly because we're actors, but I hate lying.
It was all for a good cause. The world benefited
I
from the
love that Walton
surprise.
spilled. All right.
We got dressed up for your podcast, bro.
I appreciate you. I
He's
didn't.
so good in that show, right?
He's
so
amazing.
it's like, here's the thing. You think
How good is she as Kate?
Stop,
She's so
stop.
Stop.
Let me
You
talk
stop.
about
You
I'm
stop.
gonna throw this juice on your face.
stop.
But
You
it's
both
here's the
disgust
thing.
me. Yeah.
It's like it's because he's not in as much of the show, but to me is the whole reason. It's like what the whole show is about.
All right,
That
get out of here.
monologue. And
Get
I
outta
think
here.
it's it's crazy. I'm gonna punch somebody. if you don't
How
mind.
likable is she as that character?
I'm gonna punch somebody if you both don't get all the nominations. God damn it! How you doing, buddy?
How you doing?
Put the toilet seat down for fuck's sake. Jesus,
Keeping
Mary,
keeping
and show
all
us
of this
that
in.
I'm
This is the podcast, by the way.
not-
I wanted to leave a surprise for you.
Great. If it's surprised, it's good riddance for me.
This isn't work. This is just fun for me.
I fell into the toilet.
You don't know that I left that toilet seat up. That could have
Oh,
been.
yeah,
somebody
'cause there's
else.
so
There's
many
a bunch
men.
of people in the house today.
Yeah.
We just went from touting your brilliant performance to you were a disgusting Neanderthal. We just ran the gamut of a relationship right there
Well,
in 30
that-
seconds.
Welcome to my life.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
He's a brilliant artist.
and a
Not
disgusting
such a
heathen.
brilliant toilet person, downer seater. All right.
If that was open, she'd be drenched.
Oh my God.
Oh, how's life? You're back home.
Hey, bro, what's
Domestic
happening?
bliss. It's all good. Keeping busy.
Hey, man. Me too. I'm just kind of, yeah, man. What's I like the haircut.
Thank you. Trying to keep it clean for you. You know who I saw yesterday, and we're in it.
What'd
If
you
that's
see?
okay.
We're in it.
I saw Turturro yesterday. It made me think.
No shit.
I am way too. I haven't seen Box of Moonlight probably in 30 years. I need to.
That movie
go
didn't.
back.
That didn't come up with
No.
the internet.
No, we were doing
Yeah.
I think for Severance, but
Yeah.
can we?
Yeah.
Let's just reminisce about that one. Was
Yeah, that
Turturro
was-
a big deal for you way back when?
Big deal. Yeah, because I'd heard about his infamous performance in Danny and the Deep Blue Sea, which kind of
Right.
put him on the map. And then I saw him in Miller's Crossing, and everybody was talking about John and Miller's Crossing. Because it was that generation of like John Turturro, Miller's Crossing, Gary Oldman, Sid and Nancy, then John Malkovich, True West, and Places in the Heart, and and then it was just this Phil Daniels was a guy, and then all these kind of that generation of actors, was just exploding, and Daniel
Yeah.
Day-Lewis and Ray Fiennes, Willem Dafoe, and
I have to say,
yeah.
I've done a few things. I was in LA like a week or two ago, and I did an event with Gary Oldman, and I've done a
Oh,
couple of these like career
it's the
retrospectives with
best.
him. The
He's the
dude
best.
is we
He's
all knew this.
hysterical.
We've known that, and where he is now and the life he's lived, and he went through it all, and now he's like the
Yeah.
sweetest, most humble, and like self-effacing, hates his own like acting, like it's so the
Yeah.
harshest critic ever, and it's just
Yeah.
so inspiring to hear him talk about the movies
No,
that mean
he's the
everything
best,
to
man. I
us.
got to spend a lot of time with him during the Oscar stuff, and
Right.
he and I
That
were on
was
the
the
same
season.
circuit.
Yeah.
We had some good laughs. Yeah.
So you're back home. You've been running around. You've done a lot of travel for work the last year. It's
A
been
lot of
a
travel. Yeah. South Africa, Easter Island. It's been all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are the routines when you come back home? What do you fall into? Do you have a like what's your role around the house besides not leaving the toilet seat down,
Well, when my dog's not, um,
sneezing?
you
Or,
know, taking me down in the park,
right.
let's see. I go to the movies. I go, try to catch in some theater. I try to, the usual crap.
Yeah.
Try to see people, friends,
Yeah. Yeah. So what
Yeah.
okay. So Leslie already did
What
some of
about
the
you, young man?
what's my life? What's my daily
Yeah.
life? It's
Yeah.
it's
What
it,
about you? What do you do for leisure?
for my work
Do you
is
have a
my leisure.
child? Do you have a child? Are you married? Do you have a child?
I'm married. The dog is in the wife and the dog is in the other room.
Okay, that's
Lucy.
good. We got the same deal. Yeah.
Yeah, we got the same kind of deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but okay, let's talk White Lotus. Leslie already did some of the heavy lifting for me, but I will echo
Yes.
everything she said. You kill it in this, and it's such a
Thanks, man.
delightful surprise for most of the world outside of me because Walton gave me the tip off. But talk to me like, look, this is a nice weird surprise in your life too, because this was obviously
Yeah.
something that came out of nowhere. Are you a believer in kind of like everything happens for a reason kind of a thing in an acting life or what? Like, how do you look at this one?
Yeah. I mean, this was really an unexpected kind of hit thing that happened. I mean, it was supposed to be another actor. He dropped out because of dates, and then they called me. I was in South Africa, and I was doing this movie with Gore Verbinski and Zazie Beetz, Michael Pena, Juno Temple, um, all these great actors, and we I was doing all these monologues in the
Right.
movie. The movie begins with a 10-page monologue. And then I'd also done American Buffalo with monologues. So I was kind of tuned up by the time I got to White Lotus, which I didn't have a lot of prep time. And then it just kind of came together. And Mike, he really did an extraordinary thing in the writing of this monologue. He sums up the entire season, all the characters, kind of with this one character, sort of summarizing the theme of the season, which is, this sort of quest for enlightenment, spirituality, and the conflict between that and selfishness. And so the task at hand, the acting problem with the monologue was really um to in a way to kind of summarize that whole philosophy of that season.
Right.
And it was interesting. It was really interesting trying to get it together. And then, I was ambivalent because I didn't know if I'd have enough time to prepare. Walt called me, Leslie called me, and they were like, "You got to do it." And then I had some ideas for the rest of the stuff, and I pitched it to Mike, and I just jumped in. And then, yeah,
So in practical terms, like what are you agree to do it? You're like, okay, this is
yeah,
too good to pass up. Like,
Yeah.
what do you start to work on? I know you work with Harry Knickerbocker, who you always talk about, your acting teacher to
Yeah.
coach.
Yeah.
Like what in the margins of your script? Like, what are the notes?
Yeah.
Like how particular are you getting and kind of like figuring out,
Oh, you're
cracking that
getting
monologue?
very, very specific with it. And, little tiny things tweaking with Mike um, or even Leslie and obviously Terry Knickerbocker. And then kind of like trying to get more specific. And I think as you get older, the work with more experience, what Gene Hackman calls sort of like getting simpler,
Right.
simplifying your work. And so there was a tendency to want to do it, maybe with like a twang or do it like it was sort of described to me like these guys it's ambivalent with their backstories that they might be expats, ex-military,
Right.
because he's giving him a gun, and could they have been mercenaries? It's sort of unclear on purpose what Walt, Rick, and Frank's background is. And so you kind of have to create your own past. And then so we did some things, like we had a couple get the makeup hair team, they shaved my head, gave me some scars, I had a Navy SEAL tattoo, and I was pretty skinny at the time. And Walt, I don't know, Walt and I knew we'd be well paired, and we would immediately have this kind of Butch Cassidy, Sundance, Cagney and Lacey vibe going. I knew that was going to happen immediately.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was kind of taken care of. And to act with a close friend was really interesting. To play close friends with a history
Yeah.
in a show with an actual close friend with a history is really cool. And you have a shorthand, so it helps you immediately. And Mike was open to a lot of the ideas that I pitched him. My acting coach Terry said you should have an alter ego for the film director character. So we created a look with the members only in the hat. It's kind of
Right.
like Tony Scott, or
Right. I see that.
kind
Totally.
of a little McConaughey in there or something, and then or Woody Harrelson maybe, and then it just kind of like came together. I pitched him. I mean, there was a bar fight that we shot that was cut out, but like really interesting stuff. And some of it ended up I pitched him the hallway scene, and he wrote that scene.
Yeah.
And yeah, the monologue's pretty much intact, I would say, for the most part.
Were you thinking of, I mean, there have been obviously so many amazing
Yeah.
monologues in film history. I mean, and this
Yeah.
one I love because it is like, it's kind of that deranged, it's that history of kind of like deranged storytelling, right? It's kind of like a little bit of that
Yeah.
Robert Shaw in Jaws, or Brando in Apocalypse. Like,
Yes.
were you thinking of those kind of
Yeah.
reference points a little
Yeah,
bit?
yeah. I looked at those. Yeah. In my monologue frenzy during the Gore Verbinski movie,
Yeah.
because I had like 5 monologues in that movie, in a kind of a monologue frenzy to make every monologue seem different in that movie, I started Googling great monologues.
Yeah.
And those monologues would come up. All these monologues would come up. Morgan Freeman in Shawshank with the parole board.
Yep.
Jack Nicholson, Few Good Men.
Yep.
Can't Handle the Truth. Then there was Rocky, Sylvester Stallone in like Rocky 5, talking to his son, giving him like a pep talk. There's all these monologues, because I had every kind of monologue in the Gore Verbinski movie.
Yeah.
Which is called Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. And so when we got to White Lotus, I was working on it in a certain way, and my tendency was to do it kind of melancholy. And my acting coach cautioned me with that approach. He said, no, it's really, the character's enlightened. This is a good thing. This is a very positive thing.
Right. He's not ashamed of this. He's
not ashamed of this at all. There's no shame. And I think there was a tendency to get sort of dark with it because the material's so dark. And I really had to work to go against that. And then, I'd already done sex addict research on Choke, Chuck Palahniuk. I'd already done like sober research. I'd done movies like Drunks with Parker Posey.
Yep.
Gone to meetings. And I'd worked with Navy SEALs before and talked to Navy SEALs, and so the ex-military stuff was sort of there. Talked about post-traumatic stress and stuff like that. And then the only thing left was the Buddhism stuff, which I really didn't know a lot about. So I watched some documentaries, I read up on a little bit, and then the rest of it's on the page. It's
Right.
really about me and Walt and what's on the page. So
sorry, go ahead.
yeah. So it just so I guess for the is you there is something about life is preparing you for the next role.
Right.
When I did Snow Angels, I'd already played Judas in the last days of Judas Iscariot. So I'd already gotten the sort of biblical New Testament tutorial from a Jesuit priest named James Martin, who's friends with Steve Colbert. And then he then helped me with the Snow Angels. So like, you play Laertes and then you play Hamlet. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, that's the kind of thing that happens. You play Mercutio, then you play Iago. So I think it really did. All those things led me up to this model. So where I really only had like 4 weeks, I think, to prepare for it. And I made a joke that I might need an earwig or a teleprompter, and they had an earwig prepared for me.
The full Brando, full.
Yeah. And I didn't need it, but I was worried about the lines, and then we got it. Yeah.
Obviously mentioned Walton, who you've known for a while, and he's obviously been having a moment the last couple of years, well deserved.
Yeah.
And you had a front row seat to a meme that came a year plus after you shot it. Do you remember like watching his reaction and clocking it as something particularly noteworthy at the time, or are you surprised by how people...
which one are we talking about?
I'm talking about the reaction to your monologue, the kind of like the mouth agape.
Oh,
open,
yes.
That's become this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can't do that monologue in a vacuum. It has to be.
Yeah.
Walt's character has his own monologue, an inward monologue that he doesn't verbalize, but there's a lot going on with Walt's character. Yeah, it's beautifully played by Walt, and we had a great time doing that. Walt's got the thing, a very genuine quality that is rare in actors you see these days. I mean, Jeremy Renner has it.
Yeah.
Hemsworth has a little bit of that kind of. It's just there's the kind of thing like Russell Crowe or like Nick Nolte. It's like this kind of like Nick Nolte thing. I can't.
Well, it's a lived-in quality, right?
Yeah.
Like, you think it's like he was. It makes sense that at this age, this is kind of like when people are enjoying him, because like he doesn't. At 22, you don't want to see that guy. He probably had that quality at 22, and now it fits the body and who he is now.
Yeah. He plays the innocent in The Apostle. The kind of
right.
He plays this very innocent character in The Apostle. Walt and I met in Cowboys and Aliens, and we became very good friends. Walt's just one of a kind. He's just got this thing, he comes from nothing, and his mother and him used to clog together, clogging contests, crazy.
You can relate, having acted with your mom.
I acted with my mom. So we have a lot in common. We're both latchkey kids, so we both worked in restaurants, and we know the deal.
Yeah.
We both know what it's like to be broke, and Walt and I have a lot in common. So we talk about stuff like that, Yeah.
Do you remember, like, your audition days, thankfully, are long behind you. Do you remember the last time you had to audition?
I always tell Josh Brolin, I went in for his part in No Country for Old Men, and they got the right guy for the job. Josh it was meant to be. That was supposed to happen. But I remember going in for the callback for that, and I was like, I had a cold. I think my girlfriend at the time had just broken up with me. I was like, I'm not making excuses, but I was a little off my game. But I'm trying to think if that was the last time or if there was something else. It's probably something else.
Was that the one and only Coen Brothers close call you had? Because it feels like every
I had,
actor, I'm sure you would want in on
I
that.
read for Turturro's part in Oh Brother. There was a moment where he was maybe not going to do it. They were negotiating his contract, and so I went in for it.
Got it.
And I brought in my fake teeth from the Green Mile, and I did my sort of, hillbilly thing, and didn't get that either. But John got it. John had it really. But I think I made them laugh in that audition. I remember being like,
Yeah.
yeah. And oh, I think I did do a song for.
Oh, Inside Llewyn Davis, or
Yes, I
yeah.
sang a song. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my voice was a little too country and western for that movie.
Right.
But
Who were the contemporaries you were often going up against back in the day? Like
I
who
was
were the
going
ones
up
that you were?
against,
Yeah.
well, Josh and I came from the same. It was Billy Crudup, Liev Schreiber, Jeffrey Wright, Mark Ruffalo, Renner and Shannon were a little younger.
Right.
I think who else? There's a few others in there. Who else? I'm leaving somebody out.
Those make sense.
David Harbour was coming up, and then
Right.
yeah, a couple of guys older, a couple of guys younger. Matthew McFadden's maybe a little younger. But yeah, Billy and I, Josh Hamilton, Frank Whaley. There was a bunch of people. Oh, Kevin Corrigan,
Mhm.
Michael Imperioli,
Yep.
and I and Kevin Corrigan drove in a van to New Jersey to audition for one line in Lean on Me.
Sure.
And I got it. And then they never got to my scene. So they had to let me go because they didn't want to pay me for a week. So they got to pay you for a day player or pay you for a week. So they let me go. They not fired me. They just sort of let me go.
Yeah.
And because they were like, we can't pay him a week for one line. And then they hired Michael. And Michael got it. Michael's in the movie, but I
Michael
still get
Shannon?
residual. Michael Imperioli.
Imperioli and Lean on Me.
And I still get residual checks for that, even though I'm not in it. And then I went, and then they called me to do Celebrity.
Right.
And I was part of DiCaprio's entourage.
Right.
And I had a few lines. And they said, Woody wants you to dye your hair bleach blonde. And I said, I'm not dyeing my hair bleach blonde for like 5 lines. What are you, crazy? And they're like, Woody wants you to do it. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing it. And they're like, well,
Wow.
Michael Imperioli was going to do it because he had dropped out. And I was replacing Michael because Michael was going to do a little pilot called Sopranos.
Heard of it. Yep.
That I heard didn't go anywhere.
Nope.
But and so I said, all right, I'll dye my hair. And I bleached my hair.
Were you thrilled when you got the head thug role in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Did you want a name? Did you have a backstory, a full name, character arc?
I did not. I did not. I worked with Elias Koteas. I met Patty Clarkson down there in North Carolina. And Josh Hamilton, my buddy, was down there. And we hung out with Keanu Reeves in Wilmington, North Carolina.
What were they making? What was going on there?
Very nice guy, by the way.
Yeah, he's the best.
He was down there doing a movie with Peter Falk, Patty Clarkson.
Okay.
Anyway,
Elias Koteas was kind of a big deal at the time. He was someone that was kind of actors love.
What you call him? Elias Koteas?
Koteas? I've never spoken to the man. I don't know. How do you tell me? Elias Koteas?
Maybe it is Elias Koteas. I thought it was Elias Koteas, but you're probably right. Elias Koteas.
I'm probably not.
You know what? I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Here's the important question. Did our last meaningful chat with our buddy Justin Long bear any fruit on the Galaxy Quest front? Did we help Secret into the universe? Any progress on giving birth to more galaxies?
Is there a GIMP mask involved?
Folks that don't know, there is context to that random aside by Sam Rockwell.
Josh and I did a sketch.
We did.
You have to Google it, but anyway.
There's so many good things. Did you watch when I sent you the unearthed walk-in Sam Rockwell gem, the conversation we had for I was gonna say for Prometheus.
That's tremendous. That's one of the greats. I sent that to him. It's an amazing conversation.
It really, I've sent that around a lot.
That's an amazing conversation.
It is.
That's pretty amazing.
That was for Seven Psychopaths. That was a beautiful film. Was that the first time you met Chris
We've
Walken?
made a couple of great short films, you and I, though. We've made a couple.
We've made some real gems. We're due for another one.
Yeah.
Was that where you and Walken first connected?
We connected we did a play together, and then we did Seven Psychopaths.
Oh, Behanding was before then.
Yeah. But no, Justin did talk about Galaxy Quest, and I don't know what's happening with that. I hope that happens, man. It's time to get Guy Fleegman out again.
The world needs it right now. So
yeah,
we always talk Walken. I feel like you collected a new Walken in your life. You worked with Malkovich recently. He's in that.
I did.
He's in that pantheon. Did he live up to everything that I hope and dream John Malkovich would bring to the table?
He's incredible. He works so hard. We had such a great time. He's just an amazing, beautiful actor. You know, he's a hero of mine, and all these guys are. And John Turturro, Gary Oldman, John Malkovich, Chris Walken. John and I had a great time. He was we talked a lot about a lot of nerdy actor stuff.
Yeah.
What
was it film or theater roles or both? I assume that you revered for him. Like, what do you remember?
I saw him originally. I saw him in Death of a Salesman on television.
Right.
They had filmed the stage play, him and Dustin Hoffman and Stephen Lang, and it was a great cast. And that in high school, I saw that. I did a monologue from it, and then years later, I watched they filmed True West, and that's a famous, that's a very famous production. And then I saw him live in Burn This. So initially, and then I saw Places in the Heart and The Killing Fields and stuff like that.
Yeah. Did you ever? I make my mind is floating around when you mentioned True West. Obviously, Phil Hoffman always comes up. I saw Phil and John C. Reilly when they were
me too.
going back and forth.
Incredible.
Unbelievable. It's one of those
incredible. Yeah.
So Phil obviously always comes up in conversations.
Yeah.
You bring him up all the time. You brought him up in the Oscar speech. Yeah, you never. I mean, he directed you, but you never got a chance to act with Phil, did you? Or am I missing something?
No, I had 2 opportunities, maybe 3, and they were squandered, and I regret that. Yeah. It's a couple of, like Nick Nolte. I could have worked with Nick Nolte. Could have worked with Kurt Russell. Really, that kicking myself. Richard Jenkins.
They're still out there.
They're still out there. There's time. But yeah, Phil. Yeah, we were very close. We were good friends, and he directed me. And he was one of the guys. He was the guy.
He was the guy for a generation. Yeah. I mean, and I feel like I underestimated him at the beginning, because to me he was like Scent of a Woman, like baddie. I didn't realize what I was dealing with until he kind of accumulated the body of work and you realized he could just do anything.
Sure.
Well, I don't know if there's an easy way to kind of encapsulate this, but why did you put him on a pedestal? What made him such a singular talent for you?
I think Chris Walken said it after he passed away, said that he was our Charles Laughton. He could have been our generation's Charles Laughton, and there was so much work ahead of him. And he was a young guy, and he was special. That he had the emotional power of a George C. Scott or John Malkovich kind of emotional ferocity.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff that Laurie Metcalf does, or Gary Oldman or John Malkovich. Like, he had that emotional power.
Yeah.
Is what my teacher used to call it, emotional power. And then he also was transformational, and he could transform, and he was I mean, he could be a baseball coach, he could be Truman Capote,
also could be so vulnerable, like Magnolia, Happiness, these
no,
these
exactly.
open wounds.
Happiness, incredible. Yeah. I mean, I mean, the humiliation and happiness that he goes through, like,
That's a brave.
and Boogie Nights, like,
Yeah.
blew our socks off,
Yeah.
That's really the big, when you see a Robert Duvall, a Morgan Freeman who plays the president of the United States and he plays Fast Black
Yeah.
in Street Smart, um, Cheadle and Devil in a Blue Dress or whatever, what have you, and Phil, same thing, man.
Yeah.
Robert Duvall, Meryl Streep, this kind of transformational chameleon-like skills they have is really it's the merit, it's the true merit of an actor, I think, when you can pound for pound, Brando is, he's had it all, but it's like, can you transform? Do you have this emotional power? And
Yeah.
yeah. And then if you're, yeah, you know what I mean?
Totally. I mean, a different kind of actor you mentioned already, to me at least, and you worked with him, was Gene Hackman. You worked with Gene on
Yeah.
Heist,
Well,
the
that's
Mammoth film, and he's the one that I always bring up. I mean, Gary Oldman always brings him up. Many actors bring him up. Like
it's good to talk about him because he just passed.
Passed, and like for me, outside looking in, no false notes. That guy just like I believed
Never.
anything he did. I don't necessarily see him, and this is not like a demerit at all, as a chameleon. He just like he was truth. He was just like kind of like that lived in guy, and he could do shades of that. But like I said, I never saw anything come out of his mouth that didn't feel real. What was your experience watching him up close? And
he was amazing. He was able to draw boundaries with people, but also just, I saw him kind of protect himself from what can happen on a set often is that people don't really understand what you're doing.
Right.
Often, not everybody is Alan Pakula, or Sidney Lumet, I mean, like, often some of the best directors are not necessarily actor friendly. And so that goes for every department, and they don't, and it's fine. They don't need to understand what I'm doing. But I think that you have to, you have to give them an awareness of it. And sometimes I saw him a couple of times, like, just ask for space,
right,
when
because
he needed
this was
it.
with Mamet, and Mamet famously is kind of like, say the words, just say the words,
and stand here. And he's wonderful. I mean, he's done some great movies and he's great plays, obviously, but yeah, it's just a different headset, and no one, it's hard to understand what the actor's headset is. And so he kept very quiet. He was very quiet, and then he would crack jokes. His stand-in was like one of his best friends, and they would hang out. He's an ex-baseball player. He told me some great jokes, and he gave me some advice here and there. I remember going up to him, and I needed some help, and he also wanted me to bring it. He wanted me to bring it. He wasn't afraid of a good tennis player opposite him. You know what I mean? I remember one time
he knew that would bring out the best in him, probably.
Yeah. And same thing with somebody like Malkovich or Chris Walken. It's the same thing. Francis McDormand, whatever. They know they're not threatened by someone who's going to pass the ball. And that takes great confidence and knowing a lot about the art form of what it entails. That it takes a village,
Yeah.
You need a good tennis player,
Right. I'm sure there's a lot of insecurity for younger actors in particular that think they have to kind of like they have to win the scene. They have to kind of
yeah. It's not about that it wasn't about that with him.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just watched Scarecrow, man, again, and I was watching Royal Tenenbaums, I mean, Jesus Christ, he was a monster.
Yeah.
He's a monster. He's probably one of the 3 or 4, 5 greatest actors on the planet Earth. Yeah.
Let me throw out a couple random
Yeah.
films for you that we've never talked about in depth. We've never talked Charlie's Angels, and that was such a big one for you at the time. I mean,
Somebody,
what
there was a rumor that maybe they're doing another one with Drew and Lucy and Cameron, but I don't know.
it
Did you hear
sounds like
that?
they've been trying to. Yeah, it sounds like there
Yeah.
have been rumblings in
Yeah.
recent years. That wouldn't surprise
Yeah.
me. Was that a big deal for you? I mean, you have such a nice turn
Yeah.
in that. Like, I mean, I was just watching on YouTube, like the scene where you kind of your reveal as the bad guy is a fun kind of like a oneer that turns on
Yeah.
you. There's a little dancing, some music, and you kind of get to like show your true colors. What are your memories of
Yeah.
taking that one on?
Well, I have to say, that was a very much Nancy Javonen and Drew Barrymore and McGee. They really created an environment. I came on early with that thing, and I had a lot of people tell me, like, including I think Phil, like, don't do that. I think Phil said, don't do that. And then I brought Phil to the premiere at the Ziegfeld,
Wow.
and Phil never would admit that he was wrong. And he said, you know what? I was wrong. This was a good idea.
That movie
And
works. Yeah.
it really works. And everybody was like, there was like 16, 17 writers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think only one of them was a woman.
Yeah.
And it's a movie about women,
Yeah.
And I met Nancy Javonen, and she talked about a few things, and then she said, you should meet McGee. He's doing Charlie's Angels. Met McGee. We talked about all these weird references. He said, listen, the script is not ready. Do you want to just go in and read with Drew? We can keep it loose. I said, well, yeah, but what are we going to read if the script's not really ready? And he said, and we were talking about the movie Foul Play.
Oh, I love that movie. Yeah. Chevy Chase.
And we were talking about
Yeah.
Chevy Chase and Goldie Hawn on the boat,
Yeah.
the scene where he's in the robe and they've gotten, and I forget, there's a couple of great lines in that. But we said, let's just read the scene from Foul Play. And that was my audition for Charlie's Angels. And then I think somebody brought like a boombox and put some music on. Drew and I danced, and that was my audition. And then it was sort of on, and we said, let's do this kind of like Spike Jones, Bill Gates kind of guy, who is kind of like turns into Richard Gere in American Gigolo or Ray Liotta in Something Wild. And that was the pitch for the character.
Yeah.
And we're trying to figure out a way to do that reveal.
Yeah.
And then my friend and I were playing music, and we found that Marvin Gaye song, "Gotta Give It Up." And I think we pitched that to McGee, and "Gotta Give It Up" was the song where the character literally transitions into the bad guy. And we had this like muscle tee, and he'd been wearing this loose clothing up until then, and it was a very clever idea, and I don't know how we pulled it off, but we did, and we just made him kind of crunchy before that.
It's fun because it's like, yeah, as an actor, you kind of like immediately alter kind of like your physicality, and that tells everything, right? Like you're like, oh shit, like this is the guy.
No, we were definitely trying to do a Kaiser Soze
right
thing, and and it kind of worked. And then Drew had sent us this VHS tape. That's how long ago this was, with all these inspiration clips, like a reel of inspiration. And it was everything from Grease to anime to like Saturday Night Fever to, I mean, it was everything. I'd love to see that reel right now and see what I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Because she put it together, and it was really, you sort of got the tone.
Yeah.
And the tone was weird, man. The tone was weird. It was not clear. It was like popcorn meets cutesy meets Bill Murray's Crispin Glover's in it, and fucking this wacky thing. It was a wacky movie.
It's a miracle of a movie that it works, frankly.
It's a miracle.
Everything you talked about.
I mean, it's nuts. The movie's
it shouldn't
nuts.
work. It shouldn't work, but it does. And then it collapsed in the second one because that kind of thing only happens once.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. Exactly.
What do you think of? We talked a little bit back in the day, but now it's been 15 years since Iron Man 2. Can you believe that? Iron Man 2, 15
Yeah.
years old.
Oh my God.
Which was also a little bit of a wild, like,
Well,
script
I
in
was going to reference,
progress.
that's another one where I felt as safe in a very in the studio world was with Jon Favreau and Justin Theroux, you know.
Even though the script was moving, you felt safe because they were
Yeah,
smart
but
guys and they would figure it out.
yeah, I felt safe there because Theroux had written a script. You know, that was really interesting because Mickey Rourke, uh, well, first of all, I used to just go over to Theroux's place where we met in Williamstown doing theater
Yeah.
and friends with Billy Crudup. I was with him in 9/11, him and Billy in Toronto. So we were old friends, and then he had written Tropic Thunder with Ben Stiller, and then I heard he was going to do Iron Man 2. He's going to write it, and so I would go over to his house a lot, and we'd make strong coffee and smoke cigarettes, roll cigarettes, and I said, "Where are you going?" He said, "I got to go. I got to pack. I'm going to LA." I'm like, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to write Iron Man 2." I'm like, "You're kidding me." "Oh, that's amazing. I love Iron Man. I want to be in it." He's like, "Well," I'm like, "Well, why don't you guys write me a part as the bad guy or something?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah, sure, sure." So now I was already dating Leslie, and I had been with them right before the opening night of the first Iron Man, and they were very nervous about it. We were
Yeah.
at this dinner, and they were like, "I don't know," and then of course it exploded, you know. And so I loved the movie. I really, really thought that movie, it obviously reinvented the genre, and then now you got Deadpool and all this stuff. So, um,
It should be said, just for context also, correct me if
yeah.
I'm wrong, you had a moment. You talked to Favreau. I know you didn't officially audition, but he talked to you about the
Okay,
role.
so all very strange because I was also doing a movie called G-Force
Yes.
with Zach Galifianakis, where Favreau and I played guinea pigs.
Right.
Okay, so um, somehow I wanted to get in the room with the actors, which I like to do with this animated stuff. So
Yeah.
um, I try to get in the right Anthony Ramos and Zazie Beetz and like Nora Aquafina. We got in the room and we do the voices, and I did that with Favreau as the guinea pigs, and we actually the guinea pigs are like fighting.
Right.
So like Favreau and I were like wrestling on the ground, and it was like we had mics on us, and so so he says, so we do like I think we did one or two sessions like that, and after Thoreau went to LA, I guess he pitched me for the bad guy, and Favreau said, "Why don't we split the bad guy into two bad guys, and we'll have like a Frankenstein's monster, and then like a Frankenstein."
Right.
And so it was kind of
Mickey.
like, yeah, Lex Luthor and whatever.
Right.
So
The brains and
Mickey
the brawn.
became the muscle, brains and
Yeah.
brawn. So although Mickey's kind of the brains too, but um, so then anyway, this is a long story, but
No, no, I love it.
basically
Yeah.
he said, "Come meet, the Marvel guys." So they came to the fucking G-Force session, met with them, and then it was kind of happening. And then Justin wrote this great monologue, and then they changed the lines, and we had to write a speech at lunch, and I had to use an earwig, and Mickey was speaking Russian, but we shot the whole thing in order, and Mickey didn't want to meet me until we were on film. He wanted our characters to meet on film, no rehearsal. And that's what happens. The first time you see our characters meet on film, that's the first time I ever met Mickey. And the cameras are rolling. And we had a great time. And then because we were shooting it in order, our scenes, we could kind of do whatever we want, narrative wise. So he said, like, "I want my parrot in the movie."
Right.
And then Favre was like, "All right, we'll put your parrot in the movie."
I remember
And
at
they
the
put his,
junket, he brought his little Chihuahua, I think, on as
yeah,
well.
there you
Yeah.
go. So that was a very actor friendly experience.
So, but I mentioned it, but am I wrong? Was there a real conversation for Iron Man at any point, like before Iron Man
Oh
2?
yeah, there was, but it was very brief.
It was a
I
second.
talked to Favreau because I'd done Made with Favreau and Peter Billingsley, and they they called me. They said, "Would you be interested?" I said, "Yeah, sure." And they said,
Yeah.
"Well, we're talking to some people." And then I think basically Downey did Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and then he screen tested, and then he
Yeah.
got the part. But yeah, there was a brief conversation,
Yeah.
and I
Did
said something. I don't know what I said.
so the last few years, Justin Hammer keeps coming back up as like rumored to come back. Like Armor Wars is this thing that
Yeah.
was going to be a series or a movie, or we don't know. Like, have
Well,
you
yeah,
heard?
there was talk of a series, but I think the movie thing would be exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a character that there's still some juice to be
Might be
squeezed
some
from.
juice. Yeah, yeah. I don't know what you get out of that guy. I mean, he's essentially Lex Luthor. It's Gene Hackman, Lex
Right,
Luthor.
right, right,
It's
right,
the
right.
same character, really. So, um, yeah, it's a comedic device. That character,
Yeah.
mostly.
All right. I don't.
Although he was in prison, so it could get weird.
Um, I don't want to take up too much of your time, buddy, but I do want to mention
Yeah,
you mentioned the Gore Verbinski film, which sounds right up my
dude, it's
alley.
so cool, man. So
And
cool.
you've been referencing one of my favorites of all time, Terry Gilliam, and
It's the best.
this again speaking my language. So this is a little
Yeah,
weird, a little future time
so
travel,
cool.
AI all over the place kind of thing.
Oh, dude, it's so cool, man. I can't wait for people to see this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's time travel film. Yeah, it's cool. It's in the vein of Everything Everywhere All at Once or Back to
Okay.
the Future, and it's like that kind of thing.
All right. And
Yeah,
then it's been a couple years since the last
yeah,
stage work. Anything on the horizon? You thinking of getting
yeah.
back to the
We're
stage?
thinking about some Arthur Miller, maybe in the yeah, maybe. Let's see. We'll see what shakes.
We're
Yeah,
thinking Death of a Salesman, View from the Bridge. What are we
View from
thinking?
the Bridge. Yeah, View from the Bridge. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. All right, I'm gonna end with this. This is the happy, sad, confused, profoundly random questions. Sam, you ready for this?
Yeah.
This is the important stuff. We know the answer to this. Maybe not given your park experience today. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Gus is on the shit list, but yes. Uh, what do you collect, if anything?
Um, oh God, I try not to, but
Okay.
I do have some DVDs and some comic books, but I don't really try not to collect.
All right. Very Buddhist of you. You adopted your character's tendencies. Favorite video game of all time?
Asteroids?
Classic. This is the Dakota Johnson memorial question. She asked me this once. Would you rather have a mouthful of bees or one bee in your butt?
Did she ask you that?
Yeah. 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 Obviously. Why is that weird?
Would I
Yeah.
have a mouthful of bees or a bees? I think a bee in my. Ooh, I think a bee in my butt.
I think so too. That's the general consensus.
Yeah. Bees. Because it's one bee versus a bunch of bees too.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
What's the
Okay.
what's the wallpaper on your phone?
The wallpaper is Muhammad Ali.
Last actor you were mistaken for?
Uh, Either Christian Slater or Dana Carvey.
Runs the gamut. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure. Sure.
Not bad.
What's the worst note a director has ever given you?
More energy.
Not helpful.
Not helpful.
What do you say back?
By the way, you hear that a lot. I say, you do it. No, I say,
Let's switch sides. How about that? You come, you
no, I
come over here.
say, give me some more coffee. Give me
Yeah.
an 8 ball of cocaine. Yeah.
And happy, sad, confused. An actor who always makes you happy. You see them on screen, you're immediately happier. I'm sure it's a long list, but who
Oh
comes
my
to mind?
God. I'm gonna go with Jim Carrey.
Great. Yeah.
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 Or Eddie Murphy. It's a fine line.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a tough one. There's a lot out there.
Too many. What's a movie that always
Instantly
makes you
makes you
sad?
happy. Yeah.
A
Yeah.
movie that makes you sad?
Uh, oh, geez. Sad. Well, Sophie's Choice.
Yeah.
Deer Hunter.
Yeah.
But when I get sad, I kind of like being sad. So it's different, but I'm an actor. So,
right.
I like to be sad.
It's your fuel. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And finally, a food that makes you confused, Sam. What, you don't get it. Why do people eat that?
Oh, okay. They're confused why people eat the food.
Yeah.
Not literally confused because you eat it.
Well, you could go that way too if you want.
Yeah. I'm confused. Well, can you give me an example? What about you? Give me an example.
Yeah, like I mean, it's more things you just don't like. Like I don't get beets. I don't get.
Oh, interesting. I like beets. Okay.
Olives.
It's an acquired taste.
Yeah.
You don't like olives? Interesting.
Olive oil, fine. The olives themselves, no good.
Really interesting. Let's see. Okay, I don't get mussels.
See, I disagree respectfully, but okay.
Okay, you like mussels, yeah. So you got to grow up on stuff like that, I think.
Yeah, it's
Did
ingrained.
you grow up on mussels? And
I mean, I wouldn't say my parents were rearing me on mussels like every day. Eat your mussels, Josh. But I did have them once or twice. Yeah. Time for bed. Don't forget your mussels.
I was not raised on beets either, but I do like beets.
Feels like a little judgment in the voice. A little bit of like, I'm better than you, Josh, at the end. That's okay. We had 45 happy minutes and one really tense minute at the end. It's okay.
They're good for you, Josh. No, there was no judgment.
Okay.
It's interesting you heard that.
Yeah, I felt it. Congratulations, my friend. White Lotus, you kill it as you always do, but this one in particular was a nice surprise for the world.
Thanks, pal.
You're amazing. We should mention Leslie, your partner, obviously amazing in this show as well. The whole ensemble.
Amazing. Probably one of the more likable characters too. And then I think some of your short films prepared me for the White Lotus monologue, if I may be so bold.
If people want to see even weirder shit from Sam Rockwell,
check out
Google Josh Horowitz, Sam Rockwell, MTV, Comedy Central. You'll see the real interesting stuff.
A little post-traumatic stress, actually. All right.
Yeah. Thank you, buddy, as always.
Thanks, buddy.
Be well. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. I'll see you later.
All right. Talk to you later.
Thanks, buddy.
And so ends another edition of Happy, Sad, Confused. Remember to review, rate, and subscribe to this show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm a big podcast person. I'm Daisy Ridley, and I definitely wasn't pressured to do this by Josh.